Welcome to The Silence That Attracts the Invisible Power of the Sigma. I'm about to take you on a journey into one of the most misunderstood and powerful male archetypes in today's society. The Sigma male doesn't seek the spotlight, yet somehow he attracts it. He doesn't chase validation, yet people gravitate toward him. How is this possible? Before we dive deep into the silent power that defines the Sigma, I want to invite you to join our community of like-minded individuals who are mastering the art of authentic self-development. Hit that subscribe button if you want to unlock more insights about leveraging your natural strengths without conforming to society's typical expectations. Our channel doesn't just explain concepts, we provide actionable strategies that transform lives. You'll want to be notified when our next video drops, as each one builds upon the knowledge of the last. Now let's begin our exploration of the Sigma mindset and discover how silence can become your greatest asset in a world that never stops talking. La soledad estratégica. The Sigma male understands something that most men never grasp. Solitude is not a punishment, it's a strategic advantage. Let me explain how this works. Strategic solitude isn't about being antisocial or rejecting connections. It's about purposeful isolation that serves your greater goals. Unlike the alpha who draws energy from leading the pack or the beta who finds comfort in belonging to one, the Sigma deliberately creates spaces of solitude that become his fortress of strength. Think about it this way. When you're constantly surrounded by others, you're subjected to their expectations, opinions, and influences. Their thoughts become your thoughts. Their limitations become your limitations. Their definition of success becomes yours by default. But what happens when you step away? First, you gain mental clarity. The noise of collective thinking fades away, allowing your authentic thoughts to emerge. This is where innovation happens. Steve Jobs, a classic Sigma, was known for taking long, solitary walks when making crucial decisions. He understood that breakthrough ideas rarely come from committee thinking. Second, strategic solitude develops emotional resilience. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you're no longer dependent on external validation. This independence becomes noticeable to others. They sense someone who isn't desperate for approval, which paradoxically makes them want to give you more of it. Third, it creates an aura of mystery. In a world where people overshare every aspect of their lives, the Sigma who maintains healthy boundaries becomes intriguing. This isn't manipulation, it's simply understanding human psychology. We value what isn't readily available or easily understood. Look at Keanu Reeves, a perfect example of the Sigma archetype. Despite his fame, he maintains a deliberate distance from Hollywood's social circus. He's known to enjoy solitary motorcycle rides and reading in parks. This strategic solitude hasn't diminished his influence. It's enhanced it. People respect his boundaries while becoming more curious about his inner world. For practical application, start by scheduling deliberate Sigma time in your week. Begin with just 2 hours where you're completely disconnected from others. No phone, no social media, no external voices. Use this time to reconnect with your own thoughts, ambitions, and values. What do you truly want when no one else is influencing your decisions? Next, practice comfortable silence in social settings. When others rush to fill conversational gaps, remain centered in your thoughts. Observe how this small act sets you apart from those competing for attention. Finally, learn to say no without explanation when social invitations don't align with your goals. The Sigma understands that every yes to others is potentially a no to himself. Choose wisely. Remember, strategic. Solitude isn't about isolation as an end in itself. It's about creating the necessary space to develop your unique perspective, strengthen your internal validation system, and cultivate the quiet confidence that becomes magnetic to others. The Sigma male doesn't avoid human connection, he approaches it from a position of self-sufficiency rather than need. In a society that fears being alone, the man who masters strategic solitude possesses a rare power. He enters relationships and social situations by choice, not desperation. He offers his presence as a gift, not a plea for acceptance, and in doing so, he transforms what many perceive as loneliness into one of his greatest strategic advantages. El arte de la observación silenciosa. The true Sigma male is a master observer before he is anything else. While others compete to be seen and heard, the Sigma derives his power from seeing and hearing. This silent observation is not passive. It's one of the most active and strategic advantages you can develop. When you enter a room, do you immediately seek to announce your presence, or do you take time to absorb the dynamics already at play? The difference between these approaches is the difference between the average man and the Sigma male. Let me break down why this matters. First, silent observation gives you an information advantage. While others reveal their positions, motivations, and weaknesses through constant talking, you're collecting data. Think of Sherlock Holmes, a fictional character with strong Sigma traits who could walk into a scene and gather more intelligence in 5 minutes of observation than others could in an hour of questioning. Second, it positions you as the evaluator, rather than the one seeking evaluation. This subtle psychological shift changes how others perceive you. They unconsciously recognize that you're not seeking approval, but rather assessing the situation on your own terms. This immediately elevates your perceived value. Third, it allows you to speak with precision and impact when you do choose to speak. Consider Barack Obama, who often employs the Sigma strategy of measured silence, followed by carefully chosen words. This approach gives his statements weight that would be impossible to achieve with constant talking. The art of silent observation requires developing specific skills. Start with eye contact mastery. Learn to maintain comfortable, confident eye contact without staring or looking away too quickly. Your eyes should communicate that you're present and engaged, not desperate or intimidated. Next, practice active listening. This means fully absorbing what someone is saying without mentally preparing your response while they're still speaking. When you truly listen, you'll notice that most people don't feel heard. When you provide this rare experience, they're drawn to your presence. Body language awareness is another critical component. Position yourself strategically in social settings, often with your back to a wall, giving you a full view of the room. Maintain relaxed but dignified posture that communicates self-assurance without aggression. Study the art of the strategic. Pause. When asked a question, resist the urge to fill silence immediately. Take a moment to consider your response, signaling that your words are chosen with care, not blurted out of social anxiety. A practical exercise. Next time you're in a group setting, challenge yourself to speak 50% less than you normally would. Instead, channel that energy into deeper observation. Notice the hierarchies at play, the emotional currents beneath conversations, and the unspoken desires motivating others' behaviors. Look at historical figures like Nikola Tesla, who was known for his observant nature and preference for solitude over social climbing. His ability to watch, learn, and absorb information led to innovations that changed the world, while many of his more socially oriented contemporaries are forgotten to history. The Sigma male understands that in a world where everyone is desperately performing, the quiet observer holds the true power. He sees the matrix of social interaction for what it is, chooses his moments of engagement strategically, and leaves others wondering what goes on behind those observant eyes. Master the art of silent observation, and you transform from someone seeking the spotlight to someone who decides when and where to shine it. This is the invisible power that makes others instinctively recognize there's something different, something compelling about your presence. Independencia emotional. El escudo sigma. Emotional independence is perhaps the most powerful yet least understood aspect of the Sigma male archetype. It's the invisible shield that protects you from manipulation, neediness, and the psychological games that dominate most social interactions. Let me show you how this works and why it matters. At its core, emotional independence means that your sense of self-worth, your mood, and your decisions are generated internally rather than externally. While most men are emotional reactors, rising and falling with the approval or disapproval of others, the Sigma male is an emotional generator, creating his emotional state from within. This independence manifests in several key ways. First, you don't experience the desperate need for validation that drives most behavior. Think about it. How many decisions do people make simply to receive positive feedback? The clothes they wear, the cars they buy, the opinions they express, all carefully calibrated for maximum social approval. The Sigma steps outside this matrix. Second, you develop immunity to common manipulation tactics that work on emotionally dependent men. Guilt trips, shaming language, silent treatment, conditional affection. These weapons become powerless against someone who doesn't outsource their emotional well-being to others. Third, you gain the ability to make decisions based on long-term values rather than short-term emotional comfort. When rejection or disapproval no longer devastates you, you're free to pursue what truly matters, even when it's unpopular. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who embodied Sigma traits centuries before the term existed. Despite having ultimate power, he remained emotionally detached from both flattery and criticism, writing in his private journals about the importance of generating virtue from within rather than seeking approval from without. How do you develop this Sigma shield of emotional independence? It begins with awareness. Start noticing when your emotions are reactions rather than choices. Did your entire mood change because someone complimented or criticized you? Did you feel compelled to check your phone 60 times because you're waiting for someone's response? These are symptoms of emotional dependence. Next, practice emotional self-sufficiency through daily habits. Begin each morning by generating your own positive emotional state rather than immediately checking social media or texts to determine how you should feel. Develop personal rituals that reconnect you with your core values and identity. Learn to sit with disapproval without immediately trying to fix it. When someone is unhappy with you, resist the urge to immediately apologize, explain, or change your position. Instead, ask yourself, is this reaction based on a genuine error on my part, or is it simply someone trying to emotionally manipulate me into compliance? Study Stoicism as a practical philosophy. The Stoics understood emotional independence thousands of years ago, teaching that we cannot control external events, only our responses to them. This ancient wisdom aligns perfectly with the Sigma mindset. Look at contemporary examples like Elon Musk, who frequently makes decisions that trigger intense public criticism. While not perfect, his ability to pursue his vision despite enormous social pressure demonstrates the power of emotional independence in action. For a practical exercise, identify your emotional dependencies. What external validation are you still addicted to? Recognition at work, romantic approval, social media likes. Choose one dependency each month to systematically address until you've built a complete emotional shield. Remember, emotional independence doesn't mean you don't care about others or value connection. It means those connections enhance your life rather than define it. You connect from a place of wholeness rather than emptiness, offering your presence as a gift rather than seeking others as a fix. When you've truly developed this Sigma shield, You'll notice something remarkable. People become more attracted to your emotional strength, even as you become less dependent on their attraction. This paradox is at the heart of the Sigma's quiet power, la paradoja de la atracción, porque menos es más. The Sigma male embodies one of the most counterintuitive truths of human psychology. The less you actively seek attraction, the more magnetic you become. This is the attraction paradox, and understanding it will transform how you navigate both personal and professional relationships. Most men operate from a fundamental misunderstanding of attraction. They believe that to be desired, whether romantically, socially, or professionally, they must constantly demonstrate value, seek attention, and make themselves available. The Sigma knows better. He understands that attraction operates according to different rules than most people realize. Let's break down why this paradox works. First, there's the principle of scarcity. Human psychology is wired to value what is rare, limited, or difficult to obtain. When you make yourself overly available, constantly texting, always free for plans, immediately responding to every communication, you signal abundance, not scarcity. The Sigma male intuitively understands that his time and attention are valuable resources to be invested selectively. Second, there's the element of mystery. The human mind is drawn to what it doesn't fully understand. When you reveal everything about yourself immediately, you eliminate the space for curiosity and imagination. The Sigma maintains certain boundaries around his personal life, thoughts, and feelings, not out of manipulation, but out of healthy self-containment. This creates a magnetic field of curiosity around him. Third, there's the power of non-neediness. Nothing diminishes attraction faster than the perception of desperation. When you operate from a place of genuine self-sufficiency, you communicate that your value doesn't depend on others' validation. This paradoxically makes others work harder for your attention because they sense they must earn what you don't freely give to everyone. Look at historical figures like James Dean, who embodied Sigma qualities and became an enduring icon of cool. His appeal wasn't in trying to be liked, it was in his authentic indifference to whether he was liked at all. This doesn't mean being unkind, it means being unattached to outcomes. How can you apply this paradox in practical terms? Start by auditing your communication patterns. Are you over-texting? Do you explain yourself excessively? Do you fill silences with nervous talking? Practice communication minimalism. Say what needs to be said, then stop. Let your words have weight through their scarcity. Next, reconsider your availability. The Sigma understands that being constantly available signals that you have nothing else of value happening in your life. Structure your time according to your priorities and be unapologetic about it. When you do give someone your time, be fully present, quality over quantity. Develop the art of subtle, non-verbal communication. Research shows that attraction is primarily communicated through body language, tone, and presence rather than words. Practice projecting calm confidence through your posture, maintaining comfortable eye contact, and speaking with measured pace and lower vocal tone. Consider the example of Ryan Gosling, who often plays Sigma-type characters. His appeal doesn't come from trying to impress, but from a quality of self-contained assurance that makes others want to enter his world rather than him seeking entry into theirs. A practical exercise. The next time you're in a social situation, challenge yourself. To speak 30% less, wait a beat longer before responding to questions, and focus on genuinely listening rather than impressing. Watch how this subtle shift changes others' responses to you. Remember, the attraction paradox isn't about game playing or manipulation. It's about authentic self-containment and genuine self-sufficiency. The Sigma male isn't pretending not to need validation. He actually doesn't need it because he's developed internal sources of meaning and worth. when you truly embody the principle that less is more. Less explanation, less desperation, less constant availability. You activate the attraction paradox. You become the person others think about when you're not there, rather than the person they take for granted when you are. Cultivando presencia sin palabras. Presence, the ability to command attention and respect without demanding it, is the hallmark of the Sigma male. While others rely on words to make an impact, the Sigma understands that true presence speaks volumes before a single word is uttered. This silent force is something that can be systematically developed, and today I'll show you how. First, understand what presence actually is. It's not about physical size, volume, or dominance displays. It's about the energy you bring into a space and how confidently you occupy it. Think of actors like Daniel Day-Lewis or musicians like Johnny Cash, men whose presence was felt the moment they entered a room, not because they announced themselves, but because of the quiet intensity they carried. The foundation of presence is physical alignment. Your body communicates messages regardless of whether you intend it to. Start with posture. Stand and sit with your spine aligned, shoulders relaxed, but not slumped, chest open. This isn't just about looking confident. Research shows that this physical alignment actually changes your hormone levels, increasing testosterone and decreasing cortisol. Next, master the art of deliberate movement. The Sigma moves with purpose, not nervous energy. Practice moving slightly slower than your instinct, whether walking across a room, reaching for something, or gesturing while speaking. Rushed movements signal anxiety. Measured movements signal self-assurance. Eye contact is your most powerful tool for non-verbal communication. Develop the ability to hold comfortable, confident eye contact without staring or looking away too quickly. When listening to others, give them your full visual attention rather than letting your eyes dart around the room. When speaking, maintain steady eye contact to communicate conviction without aggression. Breath control is an underappreciated aspect of presence. Shallow, rapid breathing signals stress and activates others' anxiety responses. Practice deeper, slower breathing from your diaphragm, especially in challenging situations. This not only projects calmness, but actually induces it through your nervous system. Space occupation matters. Notice how you position yourself in rooms. Many men try to minimize themselves, tucking into corners or making themselves smaller in social settings. The Sigma comfortably takes up his natural space, not expanding beyond it like the Alpha trying to dominate, but not shrinking from it either. Voice modulation is crucial. Lower, slower speech patterns command more attention and respect than higher, faster ones. Practice speaking from your chest rather than your throat, allowing brief pauses between thoughts and ending sentences with downward rather than upward inflection, which can sound like you're seeking approval. Consider the example of Denzel Washington, who embodies the Sigma quality of magnetic presence. Watch how he maintains relaxed but dignified posture, speaks with measured pace, and commands attention without demanding it. His presence isn't aggressive, but it's undeniably powerful. For practical development, try this exercise. Enter rooms with intention. Before walking through any doorway, take a breath and consciously decide how you want to appear. Imagine your energy extending a few feet beyond your physical body. Then enter with purpose, pause briefly to survey the environment, and move deliberately to your destination. Practice the art of the strategic pause. When asked a question, resist the urge to immediately fill the silence. Take a moment to consider your response, signaling that your words are chosen with care. This simple habit dramatically increases the weight given to what you eventually say. Remember, presence isn't something you turn on for important occasions. It's a quality you cultivate consistently. The Sigma male doesn't suddenly become impressive for job interviews or first dates. He embodies presence as a natural expression of his self-contained certainty. When you develop true presence, something remarkable happens. You no longer need to convince people of your value through words or achievements. They feel it. This is the essence of cultivating presence without words, becoming someone who influences the energy of a room simply by being in it. El poder de la autovalidación, self-validation, the ability to approve of your own thoughts, feelings, and actions without requiring external confirmation, is the cornerstone of the Sigma male mindset. In the world where most men are constantly seeking approval, the self-validating man possesses a rare and magnetic power. Let me show you how this works and why it matters. Most people operate on an external validation model. They take action, then look to others to tell them if what they did was good, right, or worthy. Their sense of self-worth rises and falls with each piece of feedback they receive. The Sigma understands that this is a recipe for psychological slavery. Your value becomes whatever others decide it is. The self-validating man takes a fundamentally different approach. He develops internal standards based on his values and principles. He judges his actions against these standards, not against the fluctuating opinions of others. This doesn't mean he's closed to feedback. It means he filters that feedback through his own judgment rather than accepting it automatically. Consider historical figures like Theodore Roosevelt, who embodied the Sigma quality of self-validation. When he spoke of the man in the arena, he understood that the opinions of critics matter far less than one's own knowledge of having committed fully to the challenge at hand. Self-validation manifests in several key ways. First, you develop the ability to make decisions without excessive consultation. While others are polling friends, family, and social media for basic life choices, the Sigma trusts his own judgment enough to move forward decisively. Second, you stop the exhausting practice of constantly explaining yourself. When you know your reasons for a choice are sound, you don't feel compelled to convince others. This projects quiet confidence that others find compelling. Third, you become resistant to manipulation tactics that rely on challenging your self-perception. Guilt trips, gaslighting, and passive-aggressive behavior lose their power when you're no longer outsourcing your self-evaluation. How do you develop this powerful ability? Start by identifying your values. What actually matters to you, not what should matter according to others, but what genuinely resonates with your core self. These values become your internal measuring stick. Next, practice making decisions without immediately seeking external validation. Start small. Choose a restaurant without checking reviews. Form an opinion about a film before reading what critics thought. Make a minor work decision without running it by colleagues. Gradually scale up to more significant choices. Develop the habit of internal acknowledgement. When you accomplish something, take a moment to recognize your achievement yourself before sharing it with others. Feel the satisfaction of knowing you've done well by your own standards, whether anyone else ever knows about it or not. Learn to distinguish between genuine feedback and validation seeking. Feedback is specific information that helps you improve. Validation seeking is the emotional need for others to make you feel okay about yourself. Welcome the former while weaning yourself off the latter. Look at contemporary examples like Tom Hardy, who often portrays characters with Sigma qualities. In interviews, he demonstrates remarkable comfort with his own choices without needing to justify them to critics or even fans. This self-contained quality makes his public persona as compelling as his on-screen characters. For practical application, try the 24-hour rule. When you feel the urge to seek validation for a choice or achievement, give yourself 24 hours before sharing it with anyone. Use that time to validate yourself, to sit with both your accomplishments and your mistakes without external commentary shaping your perception. Remember, self-validation isn't about arrogance or dismissing all outside input. It's about having a strong enough internal foundation that external opinions inform you rather than define you. The Sigma male can listen to criticism without being devastated by it and receive praise without becoming dependent on it. When you truly develop the power of self-validation, something remarkable happens. Others sense that your value isn't up for negotiation. This quiet certainty in your own worth becomes magnetic, drawing people who recognize that you offer something increasingly rare, a man who knows his value without needing anyone else to determine it. Navegando el mundo social, sin comprometer. 2 Essentia. The Sigma male faces a unique challenge. How does he engage with social structures and expectations without losing his essential independence? How does he navigate corporate hierarchies, social circles, and relationships while remaining true to himself? This is the art of social navigation without compromise, and mastering it is critical to the Sigma male's success. Unlike the Alpha, who dominates social structures, or the Beta who conforms to them, the Sigma employs a third approach, strategic engagement on his own terms. He understands that while complete isolation limits impact, complete integration requires compromise of core values. The middle path is where his power lies. First, understand that social systems exist, whether you acknowledge them or not. The Sigma doesn't pretend these hierarchies don't matter. He simply refuses to be defined by his position within them. He recognizes the game board without being emotionally invested in the game. Consider historical figures like Bruce Lee, who navigated between Eastern and Western cultures, traditional martial arts hierarchies, and his own revolutionary ideas. He engaged with existing structures while maintaining his unique philosophy, creating impact precisely because he could translate between worlds without being fully captured by either. The first principle of Sigma social navigation is selective engagement. Not every social invitation, work event, or group activity deserves your time and energy. The Sigma male evaluates each opportunity against his values and goals. He asks, does this align with my path? Will this advance my purpose? Does this environment allow me to operate with integrity? If the answer is no, he comfortably declines without elaborate excuses. Next, master the art of adding value without seeking approval. When the Sigma does engage socially, he focuses on genuine contribution rather than impression management. In meetings, he speaks when he has something substantial to add, not to prove his presence. At social gatherings, he connects authentically with a few people rather than working the room for maximum visibility. Develop what I call value-based flexibility. The Sigma isn't rigidly attached to specific methods or approaches. He's committed to core principles. This allows him to adapt to different social environments without fundamental compromise. He can speak the language of the corporate world without adopting its values, engage with different social circles without changing his essence. Look at contemporary examples like Idris Elba, who moves comfortably between acting, directing, music, and business ventures. He engages with different industries and social contexts while maintaining a consistent, authentic presence. He's in these worlds, but not defined by them. For practical application, develop your non-negotiables, the core values and boundaries you won't compromise regardless of social pressure. These might include how you spend your time, the integrity of your work, how you treat others, or your key personal practices. Being clear about these internally makes social navigation much simpler. Learn the art of the graceful exit. The Sigma understands that not every environment is worth adapting to. When you find yourself in situations that demand too much compromise, develop the ability to exit without drama or explanation. A simple, "I need to head out," suffices where others might feel compelled to justify their departure. Practice what I call social translating. the ability to communicate your ideas in language that resonates with different groups without diluting your message. This isn't manipulation, it's effective communication. The Sigma understands that different contexts have different languages, and fluency in these languages increases impact without requiring compromise. Consider the example of Dave Chappelle, who has maintained his artistic integrity and personal values despite enormous pressure from various social and corporate entities. His ability to engage with the entertainment industry on his own terms exemplifies the Sigma approach to social navigation. A practical exercise. Before your next significant social engagement, define your purpose for attending and your boundaries. While there, how long will you stay? What topics are off limits? What do you hope to contribute? This clarity allows you to engage authentically rather than being swept along by social currents. Remember, the goal isn't to avoid social engagement, it's to engage on terms that honor your essence. The Sigma male understands that his greatest impact comes not from isolation, nor from conformity, but from authentic engagement that brings his unique perspective to the world without diluting it. When you master this art of social navigation, without compromise, you become something rare and valuable, someone who can move between different worlds while remaining unmistakably yourself. This is how the Sigma makes his unique impact, bringing his insights and presence where they're needed most, without losing himself in the process. Convertir el silencio en influencia. The ultimate test of the Sigma male's development is his ability to convert his quiet power into genuine influence. While the Alpha exerts direct control and the Beta influences through consensus, the Sigma's path to impact is more subtle but potentially more profound. Let me show you how silence can be transformed into a force that shapes your world. First, understand what true influence actually is. It's not about controlling others or imposing your will. It's about creating ripples of change that align with your values and vision. The Sigma's influence often operates beneath the surface, changing how people think rather than simply what they do. The foundation of Sigma influence is earned authority rather than claimed authority, while others demand respect based on titles, wealth, or social position. The Sigma accumulates respect through consistent demonstration of character, competence, and conviction. People follow not because they must, but because something in them recognizes the value of your path. Consider historical figures like Nikola Tesla, whose quiet brilliance and unwavering vision influenced the development of modern electricity. Despite his lack of political power or social prominence, his influence came not from commanding others, but from the undeniable value of his contributions and the integrity of his work. The first principle of converting silence to influence is depth over breadth. Rather than trying to impact everyone, the Sigma focuses on meaningful connection with those who resonate with his values and vision. He understands that profound influence with a few often creates more lasting change than shallow influence with many. Next, master the art of strategic visibility. While the Sigma values his privacy, he recognizes that selective visibility is necessary for influence. Choose carefully when and where to emerge from the background, ensuring that when you do step forward, your contribution has maximum impact. Think of it as speaking less, but saying more. Develop what I call presence leadership, the ability to lead through example and embodiment rather than direction and control. The Sigma doesn't need to tell others what to do. His very way of being becomes a template that others naturally want to emulate. This is influence at its most organic and sustainable. Look at contemporary examples like Keanu Reeves, whose influence extends far beyond his acting career. His humble approach to fame, genuine kindness, and quiet philanthropy have created a cultural impact that outweighs many more vocal celebrities. He influences not by telling people how to live, but by demonstrating an alternative to ego-driven success. For practical application, identify your zones of genuine mastery. What do you know deeply, do exceptionally well, or understand uniquely? These areas are where your silence naturally converts to influence because your competence speaks for itself. Focus on developing these domains rather than trying to establish authority everywhere. Practice what I call question influence, the art of asking the right questions rather than providing all the answers. The Sigma understands that thoughtful questions often create more change than definitive statements because they engage others' thinking rather than just their compliance. When you ask questions that no one else is asking, you redirect the entire conversation. Develop the skill of timely intervention. The Sigma doesn't weigh in on every matter, but when he does speak, his timing is impeccable. Learn to recognize the critical moments when your input will have maximum effect. Often, when discussions have reached an impasse, perspectives have become polarized or groupthink has taken hold. Consider the example of Christopher Nolan, whose quiet intensity and unwavering artistic vision have allowed him to create transformative films while largely avoiding the Hollywood publicity machine. His influence comes from the quality of his work and the integrity of his process, not from seeking the spotlight. A practical exercise. Identify one area where you want to have greater influence. Rather than pushing your agenda directly, position yourself as a resource and exemplar in that domain. Share your knowledge when asked, demonstrate best practices consistently, and ask thought-provoking questions that challenge prevailing assumptions. Watch how this indirect approach often creates more lasting change than direct persuasion. Remember, converting silence to influence is not about manipulating others. It's about creating value so compelling that others are naturally drawn to your approach. The Sigma male understands that lasting influence doesn't come from imposing your will, but from embodying principles so clearly that others can see their value for themselves. When you master this art of converting silence to influence, you achieve something remarkable. The ability to shape your environment without controlling it, to lead without demanding followership, and to create change that continues even in your absence. This is the ultimate expression of the Sigma male's power, not dominance, but lasting, meaningful influence. We've completed our journey through the silent power that defines the Sigma male, from strategic solitude to converting silence into genuine influence. You now understand how these principles can transform not just how others perceive you, but how you navigate the world on your own terms. Remember that becoming a Sigma isn't about following rigid rules or putting on a performance. It's about stripping away societal conditioning to reveal your authentic self, a self that doesn't need constant external validation to know its worth. If you found value in these insights, I urge you to subscribe to Official Sigma Male. Why? Because while this video has given you the foundation, our channel provides the ongoing support and advanced strategies you need to fully implement these principles in your daily life. Every week, we share new techniques for maintaining your independence in a world designed to make you dependent, for cultivating genuine confidence when others settle for its shallow imitation, and for building success on your own terms. Our subscribers consistently tell us that these videos have been the turning point in their journey from seeking approval to commanding respect. Don't miss our next video, where we'll be exploring advanced Sigma communication tactics that can transform your professional and personal relationships. The path of the Sigma male isn't the easiest one, but nothing truly valuable ever comes easily. Click subscribe, turn on notifications, and join a community of men who understand that true power often speaks in whispers, not shouts. Until next time, embrace the power of your silence.